did you see in a Premier League game a goalkeeper going down 3 times? There are different kinds of winning. They make their own rules. I will never be that kind of manager who tries to win in that way.
What a surprise.
Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly, a prime night of Premier League drama. Was this the night Arsenal won the title? An unconvincing victory at Brighton, a deflected goal that should have been saved, and a seagull onslaught survived, plus drop points for City at the Etihad. See the Gunners go 7 clear at the top. An ugly win, the sign of champions, or a set-up to what will be the most painful of title concessions. Forest's first goals and points at the Etihad in the Premier League keep them clear of the relegation zone on goal difference after Somerville wins it for West Ham. And who knew William Hürzeler had that in his locker? Michael Carrick has handed his first defeat as Man United coach on his return to Tyneside against 10-man Newcastle to shake up the race for Champions League football. And the car crash, that will be Spurs against Palace tonight. Oh, Premier League, you do spoil us. We'll look ahead to the FA Cup this weekend. Will lightning strike twice for Wolves against Liverpool? Will it be Mansfield to halt Arsenal's hunt for the quadruple? And how many times will Hollywood be mentioned in the match between Wrexham and Chelsea? We ask how much KSI paid for Dagenham and Redbridge, and ask exactly who KSI is. All that, plus your questions, and that's today's Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel today, Barry Glendenning, good morning.
Hi, Robyn. I had to Google KSI. I don't mind admitting it.
Oh, we were going to ask you, but you've already done your research. But that's why you're paid the big bucks and you're the head honcho here. John Brewin, good morning.
Hiya. I got KSI mixed up with the Shaman's LSI, Love, Sex, Intelligence. There's one for the teenagers out there.
So on brand. And Johnny Liew, good morning to you. Again, you have your posse with you.
Yeah, the kids are still roaming around. I think the first 7 or 8 times it was charming, and now it's just intensely annoying. Not just to panel, and it's actually beginning to look like it's a staged event now. But hopefully, it's not. It's not.
Yeah,
Johnny was saying it's International Book Day, and we're all very disappointed that his 2 kids aren't setting off for the day dressed as upside-down pyramids, but they've gone down a more traditional romantic route, I think.
Yeah, we need to gather the information. How many have gone as one of Jonathan Wilson's books? I'm sure it's in the tens. We'll have to gather that in the census. Let's go to the football then. Manchester City 2, Nottingham Forest 2. So a big result at both ends of the table. And after a 7-match winning run for Manchester City, Barry, their sort of vulnerabilities that we've seen occasionally this season, actually more on one occasion, creep in again.
Yeah, it's a game they dominated and they didn't win. They looked vulnerable on the counter. They had 70% possession, 21 shots. But their performance once again, and this keeps happening to them, dropped off in the second half. They've now dropped 13 points from winning positions, and it's really hurting them. And this could be a really decisive night in the title race. It could also be a really decisive night in the relegation battle. And I would take my hat off to Nottingham Forest for scoring 2 excellent goals, coming back from being behind twice. I'd argue Man City maybe should have had a penalty, but apart from that, I think it was a completely fair result. And City aren't learning from their mistakes, I think it's fair to say.
Mm-hmm. David has got in touch saying, is it only a mentality issue when Arsenal drop points, or are City weak and fragile now? And Nick says, held at home by strugglers after being ahead twice, the second a manic corner, are Manchester City big old bottlers? Brackets, am I doing this right? Johnny, we love to label a team bottlers, don't we? I'm not sure Manchester City do come under that category. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge discourse about whether it's a bottle, what constitutes a bottle, what constitutes a choke, as if these are kind of technical terms. And yet the whole time people have been waiting and watching like a hawk for Arsenal to slip up, and they've almost sort of forgotten the fact that City, all this season, have had this really consistent flaw, a problem that they've tried to sort out with personnel, with signings in January. But ultimately, Rodri isn't the Rodri he was, and this, once this is the root of actually quite a lot of their problems. They try to solve it in lots of different ways. He's started to put O'Reilly in midfield, and that hasn't really worked. But and he was injured in any case. And so when Elliot Anderson strides through their midfield, where you would expect a midfield to be, there isn't, and he gets the ball back, and the finish is great, and that. The first goal from Gibbs White, again, it's one of those, it's a really good improvised finish that clearly neither Diaz or Donnarumma are expecting. But this is a recurring pattern. This is what happened against Spurs when they gave up a 2-0 lead. They were hanging on a little bit against Newcastle, conceded quite against the run of play there. And then, if you watch the Leeds game at the weekend, they're kind of hanging on in that last 10, 15 minutes. Leeds are throwing everything at them in a way that is really not... it's not becoming of a team that you would expect to win for a title. I know that we're going to talk about Arsenal later and how they kind of got away with it a little bit last night. But I think people are still expecting the City that we got in the Imperial years, and it's not. I mean, a lot of the players, about half that team has not won the league before, and I think we are dealing with a very different kind of City here, and that's why consistently all the way through I've said Arsenal. I think Arsenal have got this, not because of they are great champions or that they are unbeatable or anything like that, but because City just have so many flaws in them.
Yeah, that's going to go down well, but we'll go down. So we'll talk about Arsenal a bit later. That it won't be them to win the title themselves. It were two fantastic goals from Nottingham Forest, and Manchester City felt they could have had a couple of penalties. There was Rodri. That one was kind of not sure about that one personally when he shot and was caught sort of after that. In the Match of the Day studio, they were adamant that Erling Haaland should have had one, which probably was a bigger shout. But on Forest in particular, with West Ham, with a good result as well last night, this was very big for them.
Well, it was actually Vitor Pereira's first Premier League win. Vitor Pereira hasn't won a Premier League game yet this season, has he? So I think he's not actually got many points either. So this was a step in the right direction. There was Forest looked and have looked since Pereira's gone in there like a team fighting for their lives, which over the various managers they've had this season, that hasn't always been the case. And I suppose if you look at the goals and the players that scored them, why are they in that position? I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White is a high-quality player, we know that, and Elliot Anderson is, the heir apparent in England's midfield, and it was a fantastic goal. Jonathan mentioned the word bottle. I was reminded of this. Do we know? I'm sure you've gone over this. Do we know the origins of this?
Yes, I do. Yes, it's to do with Cockney rhyming.
It's
slang.
Cockney rhyming slang. A regular feature of Guardian Football Weekly. But yeah, it is bottle and glass arse. So it means essentially, if you've lost your bottle, you've lost control of your bodily functions in the intestines, shall we say? Let's put it politely. And so that's it. So if your bottle's gone, well, you could make a hell of a mess. Are City bottling? No, I think they're playing to their potential, as Jonathan said, that there's quite a few players there that haven't been and done that before. Pep Guardiola's talking afterwards about how they probably didn't give the ball enough to Erling Haaland. I do think that was a penalty, by the way. And that's it. City have changed. City are reliant on the big players, one of whom, Rodri, understandably, is not the player he was before because of he's still coming back from an ACL injury. And they're looking to Donnarumma, they're looking to Haaland. And it's a new scenario for them. And and towards the end of the games, they are vulnerable, and that's what Forest took advantage of and were able to get a hugely important point, and one that those teams around them would not have expected them to get, which I suppose is a very important point.
And they could have won it. Yates with a header wide.
Yes.
But then Murillo also had one off the line. He just looks like such a heroic defender, doesn't he? And that was great positioning from him. I really enjoyed Sangare, who clearly he was just so knackered, trying to run the ball out when Nottingham Forest were under the cosh, and he was just robbed. I mean, he looked like, as I said on the group, I could have run faster than that in my third trimester. I was pretty certain of that. It was incredible. But yeah, heroics from Nottingham Forest. And John, before we move on, you were very taken with their mod physio, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this guy before, but yeah, I mean, in Manchester, where is the home of mod? I suppose it's London, isn't it? But the mod.
So all the physios have that haircut in Manchester.
Well, in Manchester, it's not. I suppose it's the Ian Brown, it's the Liam Gallagher, it's the Noel Gallagher at various points. It's that hairstyle. It's Paul Weller though, really, isn't it? It's that era. It's the true mod. But yeah, maybe there's a big mod scene in Nottingham I don't know anything about. But I think actually there probably was one back in. But he's still living the dream. Yeah,
our gentlemen of a certain age who rock that haircut, known somewhat unfairly as Wellens.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those. I think it's one of those hairstyles that's unforgiving if age starts to catch up with you. That there is a certain the aging Paul Weller hairstyle. If you're running out of hair, is a one hell of a look, isn't it?
It goes from that to sort of got Sven-Goran Eriksson a little bit too quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Case. Yeah. Meanwhile, on the South Downs, Arsenal overcame a pretty stern test to beat Brighton, make the gap 7 points at the top. This was a 1-0 win. Bukayo Saka, 9th minute. It was an okay effort. It took a deflection, let's be fair to Verbruggen. It looked like he possibly could have kept it out. Quite a lot of beef here. Hürzeler looked like he was spoiling for a fight with anyone who would have him. And then afterwards he said Brighton were the only team who tried to play football. And he said, I will never be that kind of manager who tries to win in that way. I mean, words said by a man who's just seen his team lose. Never hear that, Barry, do you, from a coach whose team have just won?
Yeah, I think he had a bit of a point, but if you don't take anything from the game, and you say things like that, you just sound like a sore loser. And he clearly was sore at losing, Brighton should have done better. There's no denying that. This is not a criticism of Arsenal. This is just a description of what happened. They won by a single goal for the 10th time this season. They scored a slightly lucky goal early on, and then they didn't have another shot on target till the 88th minute. But they got 3 points. That's all they're after. And if they win the title, that'll be fine. If they don't win the title and their fans are being put through the ringer like this, there will almost certainly be repercussions. And certain sections of the fan base will want Arteta out. But as Johnny said, it looks like Arsenal have got this covered. It wasn't a good game. I'd like if Baliba had scored that goal early doors when David Raya gifted him the ball. He tried to scoop it over his head, and Gabriel, who was outstanding all night, in the absence of William Saliba alongside him, he headed it away. If that had gone in, that would have made things really interesting. But as it happened, the game never really got interesting. Brighton had a few chances, didn't score them, and they lost. And Hürzeler had a big moan afterwards. As I say, sounded like a sore loser. He is a sore loser. It's not uncommon for him to piss and moan on the touchline and get in the ear of the fourth official and his opposite number. But there seems to be genuine enmity between him and Arteta. And when Arteta was told what he'd said, he just sort of went, well, I'd take those comments seriously if, it depends who says them. He clearly has little or no respect for Hürzeler.
This child who's in charge of this team. Yeah, you said what a surprise when he was told about Hürzeler's complaints. And yeah, there were celebrations. at the end, a sort of double celebration after they heard the score, the Arsenal fans at the Etihad as well. And I just have a horrible feeling that those scenes are going to come back and it will be a meme from these Arsenal fans. I just have a horrible feeling about that. But we even talked about it yesterday. Jordan Jarrett Bryan, who's a big Arsenal fan, he kind of wants more from this Arsenal team. And Johnny, I guess it's like, if they win the title, it'd be people going, oh, not like that. No, we don't want you to win the title like that. That's not that. No, that doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's obviously discourse, but I guess it's a question that strays into cultural, like philosophical, almost kind of political questions about what the point of sport is. I mean, the one point I do want to make, and I think Arsenal obviously have their own mythology. They have a history of winning with style. They also have a history of losing with style very spectacularly. So I think they will judge obviously that the end justifies the means. I mean, the one thing I do want to say is that people keep going on about the product, right? People going on, what is this doing for the product? And I think as a journalist, obviously you have to, you're covering the league and you have to have a certain measure of context. If you're a fan or a even a player, why would you give the tiniest shit about the product? Like, of what concern is it whether the Premier League is marketing itself, positioning itself in a crowded marketplace for the modern attention economy? I don't think that's any concern of yours. And so I think a lot of this, I've written kind of a column this morning about this whole declinism, footballing declinism. Middle-aged men just going, the game's gone. This isn't the football I grew up with. When if you look back at the long ball, set piece, cross heavy football of the 80s, it actually kind of was the football you statistically grew up with. But I think that is all part of baiting Arsenal, I think, and Arsenal are very baitable. They are the most baitable club, I think, but possibly up there with Liverpool. And they need to make their peace with this, that the entire apparatus of football that is not Arsenal is really heavily invested in Arsenal cocking this up.
Yeah, John, I mean, this is the thing, but isn't this being perpetuated a little bit by the by coaches? Arne Slot was saying his football heart is broken, and then you got Hürzeler saying they weren't playing football. I mean, is this, are they concerned about the product, do we think?
Well, Arne Slot's comments became a real hostage to fortune, didn't he, when his team then played like a drain at Molineux. I wonder who sits next to Fabian Hürzeler. I get the impression he's not the most popular among his counterparts, don't you? I suspect, a bit like the Arsenal fan that just wants to win the league, he doesn't really care about that. He's not here to make friends. And the disciplinary record, we knew about that when he came from San Pauli. I think he was sent off 4 times in a season there, and he came over promising to behave himself, a promise he hasn't kept. But with Arsenal, Jonathan talked about how they had this history of winning with style. Well, again, I'm going to do it. If you're of a different age, mine and Barry's age, then you remember a different Arsenal that won with a distinct lack of style. Though it was a style in itself. I remember the Arsenal team with the famous back five or whatever was a fascination in France. They couldn't believe this team that would just turn up and just bore themselves through UEFA Cups and all the rest of it, because they were just. And a Cup Winners' Cup, but just, like how good can you be at defending? How strong are these guys at doing the job? And that's what this current Arsenal are. I mean, listen, I don't ever use XG other than to make a point, right? Okay, because I'm not really an XG type of guy, but I did see that their XG for the first half was 0.01. Now, if that's not making a statistical point, I don't know what is, but I don't know how that counts, because Saka did take on that shot that could have sort of gone in and did, but I mean, Verbruggen made a hell of a mess of it. Listen, I suppose there are a few things. Arsenal fans, if they win the league, they will celebrate wildly. It will be one hell of a night. It'll be one hell of a summer. The rest of us are going to have to put up with it, and well, whatever. That's okay. That's fine. But I suppose one thing is that playing with style offers you a bit of a fig leaf at times, doesn't it? Because at least we played with style. At least And if you only play to win and you don't win, that's when the brickbats come. That's when the criticism comes, and that's what Arsenal. And that's I suppose the tightrope that Arsenal walk in playing that style of football. But it's, to go back to old man cliches, grinding out a win away from home on a cold Wednesday night. That's how titles are won anyway.
Can I just ask, if England go to the World Cup and Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice are taking corners for England and England adopt the Arsenal approach to set pieces, will all the people currently criticising Arsenal be fully on board with England doing this?
I made this exact point. I made this exact point in my column this morning. The 2018 team, set pieces and whatever, but that's not how people. That's not what people.
No, we'll be handing back the trophy to Trump.
Well, do you know what? But there was a bit of this at the last Euros. People didn't enjoy it, did they? They were asking for Southgate to take off the handbrake and all that type of thing. Yeah, the England team that won the 2003 World Cup are regarded as probably the dullest team to win the Rugby World Cup, but the streets were filled of celebrations and wildness, even for those that weren't actually big rugby fans. So, success is okay, but if you don't do it with style and you fall short, that's when the criticism comes, I suppose. And that's maybe a tightrope England are going to have to walk.
Welcome back to part 2 of the Guardian Football Weekly. Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 4. So 2 wins in 9 now in the Premier League for Aston Villa. And it was sort of a story of a malfunctioning offside trap from a Villa perspective. And João Pedro with a hat-trick, a really instinctive finisher. And there was quite a big moment, wasn't there, Barry, in this game when Ollie Watkins thought he'd made it 2-1. He was just a whisker offside. And then João Pedro, just before the break, managed to... Well, he was a whisker onside. I mean, you could say that turned the game, but I think Aston Villa just looked ragged again.
Yeah, this was their heaviest home defeat in 2 years. I think it could have been a lot heavier. 4-1 flattered them a little. They're really missing John McGinn, Yuri Tielemans. Yeah, Boubacar Kamara, huge loss for them with those guys injured. But they're still well placed to finish in the top 4, but they need to get going again because it's just 1 win in 7 for them. I think their last 2 matches this season are against Liverpool and Man City. They could be really tough encounters, but Unai Emery was quite philosophical after the game. He, admitted they were well beaten, admitted they were in a bit of a rut, and you can't but admit that because it's quite obvious to everyone who's following their progress. But they need to just look at where they are in the table and try and regroup and get on with things. But this was all about Chelsea, I suppose, and all about João Pedro, who's been a brilliant signing for them. And I think at the start of the season, people were wondering, who'd be Chelsea's first choice striker, him or Liam Delap, and there's no question about who's first choice now.
No, absolutely. Unai Emery was very sanguine about this. He's, still in their hands. They can wrestle this back despite this poor run. But I think Barry makes a really good point about João Pedro, Johnny, because I feel like I certainly haven't appreciated just how good he is, because Chelsea, they're a bit of a banter club in terms of their transfers, but his instinct, his movement, he's a very intelligent player.
Yeah, I mean, it's this scattergun, this carpet bombing of signings, which is almost kind of overwhelming to take in. But obviously, some of them are going, occasionally one of them is just going to come really good. Cole Palmer was an example of that. Oh wow, he's actually really good. Estevao as well. Pedro, I think it wasn't entirely clear whether they signed him as a 9 or a 10 initially. I think he ended up playing 10 a lot because of Palmer's injury. But if you watch him play, he gets into what I call real number 9 positions. The way he anticipates the through ball, just to be able to get that half yard on the defender, who's also obviously anticipating the through ball. He's quick, but he doesn't, he doesn't rely on his speed. He's strong, but he doesn't rely on physicality. And his finishing this season has been like absolutely elite. I mean, this is a guy who we weren't sure whether he was going to make that leap from Brighton. And 6 months on, Chelsea have basically solved a problem that they've been trying to solve ever since Diego Costa left. That number 9 position has been a real huge problem for them. It was a Nicholas Jackson problem. It's a Liam Delap problem. Delap's probably, within 12 months, he's probably going to be on loan at Forest within the year. So Pedro has managed to just make that issue go away through sheer relentless excellence.
And so Aston Villa remain fourth on 51 points, level with Manchester United, who are third, but Chelsea and Liverpool on 48 points, just beneath Villa.
Probably worth giving Alejandro Garnacho his flowers for this game as well, because he was brilliant. He had Matty Cash on toast. But when he puts in a performance like that, it's almost infuriating, I'd say, if you're a Chelsea fan, because he does it so infrequently. You're going, well, why don't you do this more often? You don't expect it every game, but he was outstanding last night as well.
No, you're right. It just seems to be sort of 1 in every 6 or 7. That's the problem with Garnacho. But clearly, I mean, still a long way to, he's still very, very young, and can certainly improve that consistency. So Aston Villa remain in fourth, Chelsea and Liverpool behind them on 2 points, and Manchester United in third, after a very entertaining game at St James's Park. Newcastle 2, Manchester United 1. Jacob Ramsey sent off for a second bookable offence after a dive, sort of, but it looked like he wasn't really asking for anything, and then he was given a yellow card. But despite that, Newcastle managed to get through this game. And I know Barney Ronay has alluded to this, but Michael Carrick, he's looking more like a gritty... looking more like a detective in a gritty crime drama set on the coast by the day. Perhaps his best friend's daughter has gone missing and he owes him a favour. Even when Manchester United equalised here, he still had that look, that 1,000-yard stare. And so, John, Carrick out. First defeat now under his charge.
Excuse me. Here's where the decline begins. Here's where we all,
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, here's where we reach for the criticism of Jim Ratcliffe. Jason Wilcox out. What a disgrace. It was okay. That was a game where one of the reasons Manchester United lost it is because they were trying to win it at the end, which they left themselves open for Hürzeler to score that fantastic goal, and it was a fantastic goal. Remember, he scored very early in the season a late goal for Newcastle against Liverpool, and then was overshadowed by Ungamoa's late goal in an early season classic that we had. What a finish, by the way! Brilliant goal. Michael Carrick, of course, remained impassive in the style of a detective in a Midwestern, US town. He took the defeat really well. There was no Amorim-style histrionics afterwards of digging out the players or anything like that. I suppose Michael Richards made a good point, which is that United are asked to play over twice in a week and sagged a little bit with having to do that. Casemiro, you'd suspect, probably isn't capable of playing 2 games in a week these days. Picking up a couple of injuries, but let's actually credit Newcastle for the grit. Kieran Trippier, a manager's dream, isn't he? I mean, Kieran Trippier is one of those players that you watch. He's either hurt himself, hurting someone else, or he's down, or he's talking, or he's at it. That's his game, and I think he sent Hürzeler away for that goal. But before that, he was saying that he was injured and that his calf or something had given out, and just he's all action. I remember watching him play as a youth player, and that was what he was like then. He was just sort of he's just always in the action, and a few Newcastle players have felt that, like, a player who was obviously key to them staying up and key to their establishment, that it was time up for him. But he's one of those players, a bit like, say, Seamus Coleman for Everton and Ireland, that, you know, we could put him into a game and he'll do that job for you. He's a sort of warrior, and Dan Burn, of course, is the classic of that. And Newcastle dug it out. Credit to them. It's something that they've not done enough this season. You could see the relief on Eddie and Jason's face when, you know, afterwards. You know, they were trying to remain calm, and when the final whistle came, there was just this great big gleam from Jason Tyndall. He can only gleam, I suppose. And it always seems to be played at night, that game, and it's always a big stormy occasion, and that they fall foul.
Yeah, I mean, they did deserve it, didn't they? I mean, they started really well, and then you thought, oh, maybe that it won't be their night because of the red card. But Anthony Gordon scored a penalty after Bruno Fernandes brought him down, and then yes, that goal from William Hürzeler. I mean, the step overs looked like he was trying to step over a particularly tall stile in a field. It was a bit, but the finish was there. The finish was there. He managed to get over it.
About United and Carrick is that when Carrick took over, there was a lot of stories coming out about how much more fun his training sessions were. Like the anonymous dressing room sources were going to the Sun and saying, "Look, Ruben made us do tactics. He would stop the sessions incessantly to move people around and do tactics. And Carrick doesn't make us do that. Carrick, his training sessions are shorter. They're really intense. They're like 60 to 75 minutes long, and they're much more intense. And he doesn't make us do boring tactics. And I find it interesting now, a few weeks on, that this really intense training sessions that last about 60 to 75 minutes have led to them conceding a lot of goals after the 60th to 75th minutes. So there was, they conceded. There was a late goal against Arsenal. There was 85th and 90th against Fulham.
They're back in the showers and looking at their phones, and
but it's like, they're in totally uncharted territory. It's like, what? Hang on, this game lost 90 minutes. What are we doing? I'm knackered. We haven't trained for this. But I think personally that's why I think Carrick maybe hasn't, like, he's obviously done a lot of work on culture and tactics and basically getting the vibes right, getting the dressing room back on side. I think he's not done it. He doesn't seem to have done a lot of work on the longer term strategy, which suggests to me that there may be no longer term strategy, that maybe he doesn't want it. Maybe he's not really looking beyond these few weeks, because what he seems to be doing, how he's training these players, is exactly what you do if you're looking for a little short term burst of energy, but you're not thinking too much about how it's going to pan out in the longer run.
I mean, you couldn't blame him, really, given what's going on there. but yeah, a bit of a blow for Man United's European push. Newcastle, I mean, realistically have nothing to play for on the league now, go up to 12th, but a great night for them. On to Fulham 0, West Ham United 1. Huge win this for West Ham United. Somerville with the winner. 8 goals in 13 in 2026 now. And it seems, Barry, that Nuno is a sort of, I don't know, a kind of striker whisperer, sort of. He's working his magic that he managed with Chris Wood on Somerville now. Well,
I mean, if West Ham needed anything, it's a striker whisperer. They could have done one with one about 20 years ago. And yeah, if that is his gift, then hold on to him for dear life, West Ham. I mean, they must have got a great boost when they saw the Fulham team sheet and Harry Wilson wasn't in it. That would have definitely put a spring in the collective West Ham step. He was out with a foot injury, apparently. I thought they deserved this win, to be honest. Fulham weren't great. West Ham were quite courageous in that they weren't prepared to settle for a draw. They tried to get the win, and eventually they got the win, and they had to rely on a sort of comedy mix-up between Bernd Leno and Calvin Bassey to get their goal, but it was a well-taken goal with Jarrett Bowen teeing up Somerville to score into a sort of empty net. And this is, I mean, Spurs fans will be watching this game with their heads in their hands. This is a terrible result for Spurs. It's a brilliant result for West Ham. And I, for one, am delighted because I can't be the only person who thinks it would be absolutely hilarious if Spurs got relegated.
Yeah, we have had word from our noble leader, who's back in Australia, who just simply said Spurs are fucked after that result. So yeah, more on that later.
He also texted me to tell me to buy a Euro Millions ticket. So he might be planning on, just fleeing if he's trying to get a war chest together.
Yeah, we could join you on your post-England World Cup victory exile. But yes, back to this game. I mean, it could have gone either way, couldn't it? They both had penalty shouts turned down. Well, actually, it was given Fulham's one, but it was overturned by VAR. And interesting that, I mean, the goalkeeper Hermansen had a great game. And he was painted as an absolute clown at the beginning of the season under Graham Potter. And it's just funny, isn't it, Johnny, how sort of football, it goes in cycles, doesn't it? And now he's sort of the hero again.
Yeah, I mean, Hermansen, like the great save from, was it King at the end? Was it?
Yeah.
And again, like players like Wan-Bissaka and Diouf, and who spent most of the season basically being condemned as not good enough. We looked at this West Ham team and said, like, they are not, in terms of individual quality, good enough to stay up. But that's not always how it works. The signing of Castellanos has given them a lot of energy. I think it's given them a new dimension. Somerville is turning into their Carlos Tevez. They're like 2007 Carlos Tevez. And I thought the goal looked like this kind of almost random, freakish piece of quasi football. But if you look at what actually happens, Jared Bowen, it's a long ball from Fernandes, and Bowen chases it down, and he's chasing down like it's basically a lost cause because obviously Leno's going to get there. There's a defender in the way. Why are you chasing this down? But it's the perfect metaphor for the West Ham mission. You are constantly chasing down this entirely hopeless cause, and Bowen's the perfect guy to do it as well. The guy who will chase down that cause all night, and just every so often it pays off, and he wins the ball, and Somerville puts it away. And I just thought that was a really telling, symbolic moment of what it is to play for West Ham, to support West Ham, to just follow this walking zombie corpse all the way through to the end. I can't believe they'll stay up, which is exactly, I think, why they'll stay up.
Yeah, I think they will, actually. But yeah, West Ham remain in the bottom three, but are now level on points with Forest on 28. So a bona fide relegation fight we have, which we haven't really had in the last couple of seasons. Now, on to tonight's game. Oh, when you don't have skin in the game, this is going to be absolutely glorious. Spurs against Palace. Macy says, are Spurs actually a social experiment on how much the human psyche can endure? And yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And I mean, the introduction, I feel, of Igor Tudor has really elevated the Spurs social experiment as well. I mean, he's rode a little bit back on the criticism of every single aspect of his squad ahead of this one. He says, it's me sending a message to everyone that I do not accept the situation. We move on. We had a good but short period to prepare for the next game, and I've seen the guys react really well.
Well, people say he's aggressive, but I'd say he's more passive-aggressive in a fairly... He's actually quite good company in a way, and you could, sort of teeing up, how much pressure are you feeling at the moment? And he said, 7. And I was like, what, 7 out of 10? He's like, I never said how many it's out of and all this. So he's slightly playful with it. He's of a... I think I got the impression that someone had told him not to completely keep digging out the players in the fashion he did. But he still did say that this is probably the biggest problems that he's ever had when he's gone in to rescue a club. So, he never quite... And there was a... there was sort of, the players were talking to each other, and it seems to suggest that that's a good thing. It's he's in such a difficult position. There were wild and crazy rumours that this is his final game in charge, which I think is absolutely crazy. And if that does happen, that's not actually Igor Tudor's fault. That's the people that run Tottenham's fault. If that happens, they've made a completely wrong choice. But he doesn't appear to. He's just like, well, eventually we'll have to work out and find the solution. At no point did he say, I've got the solution to this. He spent a lot of time talking about the players that were injured, which probably tells you that he holds out hope that some of them might return. Just Spurs, at the heart of Spurs, and I find this, there's been such a complacency at that club. There's been such a complacency that this was the club that wanted to be a member of the Super League, that just thought by hiring big-name managers that could remain part of the elite. And then they actually win a trophy, but it seems to pay. And I've sacked the manager, but then just thought, okay, we can just reset as a top six club again, and back we go. But that can't just happen, and it hasn't happened. And the players they have are not fit for what they're supposed to be doing, and even the better players are either too young in the case of, say, Bergvall and Archie Gray, or flawed in the case of Romero and Mickey van der Ven. It's just, it's a mess, and it's a lesson to everybody that you just can't try and get away with it. And that seems to be what they've done. And then at the heart of the club, we had the change of Daniel Levy, and then we don't even know. I think someone was saying the other day that the people that actually own the club aren't even on the directors list or anything like that. It's just a complete mess, and it's of their own making. And if you're a Tottenham fan and you're paying all that money, you're just looking at it going, how did we get in this mess? Igor Tudor cannot be held responsible for the state that Tottenham are in at the moment. And I think he knows that, and he knows that eventually, he'll get a bonus if they stay up, but I don't think he'll be staying next season. No one's clamouring for Igor to stay, probably least of all the players. But anyway, that game against Palace, massive. I mean, who would have thought that Spurs v Crystal Palace would be the game of the season that we all want to watch? But it feels like it, doesn't it? It feels like, oh God, I can't miss this one. Can I cancel all plans tonight? Yeah, all right, I'm staying in for that one.
Well, because also Palace have Oliver Glasner, who seems to be on a knife edge the whole time as well. But Johnny, your perspective as the Spurs fan here, how has it come to this? I mean, how much do you agree with John?
I agree with pretty much all of it. I mean, with I guess a little bit of accompanying gallows humour. Lots of anyone got a spare to QPR away on the group chats next season. I honestly I think it would be marvellous, absolutely fantastic if Spurs had a season in the Championship. And I, as part of kind of research for this, I was looking up West Ham's 2002-03 season, because I think that they were pretty much the best team. And certainly in terms of points, I think they went down with 42 points, but also in terms of quality, and you look at a squad that has, Freddie Canute and Jermaine Defoe and Joe Cole and Michael Carrick and Trevor Sinclair and Lee Bowyer, and you think, how did you go down? And I think people will look at this Spurs team and look at the quality of it. I think, how did you do it? How did you end up with 12 points from 19 games? And they're going to, if they carry on their trajectory on this, they've been relegation form since about November, and well relegated as well, not even close. It's got to the point where they actually have to turn things around now. I think they can't rely on West Ham dropping points and Forest dropping points. I think they have to believe that they're going to probably need 4 or 5 wins to keep themselves up. Otherwise, that's going to be it for them. And if that doesn't induce a sort of sense of mission and resolve that is going to keep them up, then I don't know what is, to be honest, because there's just nothing happening there. The patient is basically dead on the slab, and it's like defibrillation time. It's clear, and you're plugging the wires together.
Oh, it's just too delicious, isn't it? Put the kids to bed early. Open a bottle of Reds.
Lincoln City against Tottenham is going to be a league game next season. A league game between Lincoln and Tottenham.
It will be Friday night on Sky Sports EFL, and I will be watching. Yeah, wonderful stuff, everyone. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So yes, the FA Cup returns this weekend. Wolves against Liverpool again at Molineux on Friday. And then on Saturday we have Mansfield against Arsenal, Wrexham against Chelsea, Newcastle against Manchester City. Barry, any of those really tickle your fancy? There's quite a few interesting ties there.
Yeah, I've had a feeling for a long time that Wrexham are either going to win the FA Cup or get promoted to the Premier League this season. So they're at home to Chelsea Saturday night. Obviously, we'll have all the Hollywood nonsense. Given how good they were last night, I would not be at all surprised if Chelsea were an absolute dog's breakfast on Saturday at the racecourse. They should win. No idea what kind of team Lima Senior will pick, but that is obviously an interesting tie given the Wrexham story. I presume everyone wants Mansfield to beat Arsenal because it's a classic giant killer affair, and they're at home. But Arsenal, whatever team they put out, should be more than good enough to beat them. You never know. And yeah, the Wolves-Liverpool one's a bit meh. Don't really care who wins that, one way or the other.
Unless we get a repeat.
Yeah. I mean, Wolves should be going all out to try and win the FA Cup, but they probably won't win it, because they probably won't be good enough to win it, but who knows?
I'm going to that one, Barry, so I'm glad you really teed it up for me.
Well, I think it's obviously the least interesting of those. Sorry, I forgot about Newcastle, Man City. That's Newcastle should be going all out to try and win the FA Cup as well.
But I was thinking the results this week meant that Rob Edwards won't rest players for the relegation. What was his decision over resting players for the Premier League? Because Wolves were probably cooked by now. I mean, they were. Funny enough, when I was at Tottenham, a few of the sort of cub reporters there were trying to work out how many points Wolves can get, because they were now considered a threat to Tottenham in the relegation battle. You mentioned Wrexham. I don't know, did we do this story about how Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack, as we have to call him these days, are going to be doing their, and it's probably not good news for you, this, Robyn, doing their football commentary debut during Wrexham's match with Swansea on Sky. You can listen to them commentating. They've asked for the bleep button because they're wild and crazy guys. I mean, you can imagine my thoughts on this. I probably don't even need to voice them.
This is another game's gone moment, isn't it? And I, for one, hope they totally mess this up and are awful, obviously, in my interests. But I mean, it's
might be really good.
I think it could be good, and I think this might be where it's going. Actually, TNT they kind of dabbled with it in the Women's FA Cup. They had comedian Maisie Adam, and I think her podcast pal Susie Ruffle doing a little bit of the commentary, or it might have been on Sky actually. So yeah, it's. These experiments are there. So
TNT had Noel Gallagher, didn't they? When City got gubbed by Sporting Lisbon, and Noel didn't say a word in the second half. It was great listening, actually. It was.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah. So the Saturday ties look fairly good. Sunday ties: Fulham against Southampton, Port Vale against Sunderland. Great for Port Vale after they beat Bristol City in midweek. And this feels like a big opportunity for Sunderland, actually, Barry, to make the quarterfinals of the competition.
It is a big opportunity, and it's also, I'm looking at it and thinking it's one they could very well lose. And obviously, the people's choice will be Port Vale to win that. They're at home. I guess Regis Labrie will give a chance to fringe players, although he doesn't really have much of a choice at the moment because Sunderland have quite a few people out injured. But that's right for an upset. but Sunderland should win it. I'm drawing Leeds Norwich is clearly the least interesting of all the ties, I think, but it's a Daniel Farke derby there, so that's the main talking point there, isn't it?
That's
Sam
possibly
Byram
most
derby.
interesting.
I think Sam Byram, for whatever reason, there's a few snob
John Newsom. Yeah, it's yeah.
I thought Leeds and Norwich would be a well-trodden path.
Yeah,
Interesting,
yeah.
that. That's about
Robert
as interesting as it
Snodgrass.
gets, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff, good knowledge. On Monday, West Ham against Brentford. Neither side will be that bothered.
Is it another of those Friday to Monday deals as well?
Yeah.
It's like a really shit Nations League. I don't know. It's not.
Yeah.
Look, we talked about Wrexham, and it's not for me. It's not. I don't find it interesting, or I'm not going to shit talk it. The FA Cup. I plan other stuff for on FA Cup weekend because it just holds very little interest for me. But that's just me.
Well, occasionally it's gone from Thursday to Tuesday, I think, sometimes. So yeah, just be grateful that it's just the 4-day spread this time around.
It's a disgrace.
Well, talking of a disgrace, KSI has actually no, that's a bit harsh. That's a bit harsh, isn't it? I don't think he's problematic. He might well be, but someone can tell me that. So he has taken over at Dagenham. Barry, KSI, who is he?
When I said I googled him at the start, he's a rapper, a musician. Is he a cage fighter as well?
Boxer,
right? I'd kind of heard of him, but I wasn't sure why, so that's why I looked him up. And I don't really care whether he's taken over Dagenham and Redbridge or not. It's not.
His money is from YouTube subscribers, so 17 million he's got on YouTube.
Yeah, look, I watched him. I remember watching him. This would have been like 10, 12 years ago, watching him. He played FIFA. That's how he got famous. He played FIFA on his YouTube channel, and he was very entertaining. You could watch him play FIFA, and he would just scream and shout and gesticulate, and people flocked to him. Young people liked to watch this guy go nuts playing FIFA. And then came, the rap career, the music career, the business investments. This energy drink, this Prime energy drink, that's him. There was the boxing, and then there was this. I think he's symptomatic of this era, right? Where if you can get attention, if you can get people's eyeballs, that is basically the currency of the world these days. Everything from politics to sport to the media. You are judged. Your metric is how many people can you get to look at you, and if you're good at that, if you're skilled, and he undoubtedly is, he's a genius at that kind of stuff, then you're qualified to do anything. Somehow you can be, you can be a football commentator, you can be a football owner, you can box, you can make drinks to sell us. The world will just reward you in endless ways. And so, I don't condone or no, I do condemn this because I think it's a really morally redundant world that we've created. But that is what he is. He's the guy who can play this world and who embodies it better than anyone else. And just the doors will swing open because everyone is after that essential currency. How do we get young people? How do we get young people to watch this thing? And everyone is trying to crack this code, and he's cracked it. And he has the keys.
I was going to say I've been to Dagenham a few times, seen Macclesfield play there, and my main memory of it is that one of the major sponsors is the local funeral director. So it feels like maybe KSI's, that's the next venture, is getting in with a funeral director. I don't know, but it's a growing business. It feels like there needs to be a rebrand, or is he doing it to get with the muck and nettles of real football? Dagenham and Redbridge, a place that you think you're sort of near, but is actually way, way out in East London. It is absolutely miles away, and I live in Bethnal Green. It feels like a 2-hour journey there and back. There you go.
Producer Joel has asked, how do we get those eyeballs? And I will tell you, Barry, live streaming your jog your fitness regime, they're going to come in their millions. Are we going for a run today?
Yeah.
Don't
Really
sound too
not.
enthusiastic.
I'm not enthusiastic. I hate it. It's really unpleasant.
Yeah.
And yeah, people keep telling me, "Oh, you'll learn to love it." And nah, it's not. I just hate it every time. Put on my trainers and then I procrastinate for about an hour and then just have to go and get it done.
But
it's
you
not
get
too
it
long
done.
today, though. I think it's only 4.5 miles today, only in inverted commas. But yeah, that's a nice short one these days.
Yeah, I think it's very impressive though, Barry, and even more impressive, we've just learnt the totalizer is over 44 grand at the time of
Wow.
recording. I mean, it is quite incredible. The
It is
pressure on this man. So
The generosity, but it's not generosity. It's vindictiveness. Because, and I can see through these people with their generosity, and every penny of that 44 grand is going towards sick children, and I begrudge them every penny of it. I should be getting at least half.
give me that drip. So if you want to contribute, just search Barry Glendenning on Just Giving, and that'll do for today. Thank you very much, Barry, and I won't say enjoy. Endure the run.
I will indeed. Yes, thank you.